Hello, I'm Kirsty Young, and this is a podcast from the Desert Island Discs archive. For rights reasons, we've had to shorten the music. The programme was originally broadcast in 1986, and the presenter was Michael Parkinson.
Our castaway today was once described as the Shirley Temple of classical music, a tribute to her precocious musical talent. She was 6 at the time. Today, at the ripe old age of 23, she's acknowledged as one of the great violinists. The conductor, Herbert von Karajan, once called her the greatest youthful musical talent since a young Menuhin. She's Anne-Sophie Mutter. Anne-Sophie, welcome to our desert island. What kind of background did you come from? Were your parents musical?
No, there was nobody in history of our family musician. My father is journalist and now editor, and my mother is just mother. You know, the strange thing is, I think there exists no explanation why somebody starts to play. I mean, I was crazy at the age of 5 playing violin. Maybe it was influence of some recordings I heard, but I just wanted for my 5th birthday to play violin.
Violin. In fact, you were given, I believe, a piano first of all, weren't you?
Exactly, yes, because my parents thought that I'm much too small to start the violin. At the beginning, it's a little bit more difficult because on the piano you already have the notes. Mm-hmm. And so I played half-year piano, and thank God I could change after that and could show my parents that I really needed to play violin.
Can you remember what you felt the first time you picked a violin up?
You know, I only remember that it was always very easy from the beginning on, and I just wanted to play. It was not working for me or practicing. It was just playing with the instrument. Of course, I made a lot of, not very nice tones and, screaming violin and that stuff. And I always had the feeling that I would hurt the violin. And so I had a very close relationship to the instrument immediately.
What about your brothers? Because you had, 2 brothers, did you?
Exactly. They started the same time with me together. The eldest one is 4 years older. He's Andreas. Played also violin, and Christoph studied piano, and we also played a lot of concerts.
Did they have the same kind of talent that you had?
Yes, I think, but they don't wanted to develop it, at the age of 8 or 10 they just decided to do something else, for life work. I think they were not so crazy about music like I am.
How old were you when you entered your first competition?
I was 6. I just played 6 months, and after that I won the biggest German prize, with special prize they never give before and never after. And I went to this competition because my parents didn't believe, that I played not bad. And so my teacher thought maybe it's a good idea to show them. And I went there and I won the prize. And after that, a lot of people tried to push me in a Wunderkind career, prodigy child.
Yes.
But my father, of course, stopped everything. And I played only 2 or 3 concerts together with my brother until the age of 10. And then I entered the same competition. My teacher died in this time, and I finished the competition with the same prize. That was a little bit difficult time because I was there 8 months without teacher.
Let's leave it there for the moment. Let's go now to your first choice of music. What might
yes, that is, of course, Yehudi Menuhin, because I remember his recording as the first one I heard in violin. That's Mendelssohn Concerto with Furtwängler, beginning of the first movement.
Anne-Sophie, let's go back to that moment in time when you were 6 and you won this competition. How did your parents protect you from the pressures and the interest that came in on you at that very early age?
There are 2 sides in this moment because One thing we should not forget is that you need a good instrument, even at the age of 5. And teachers also need money, you know. There are so many things around. For example, I had school dispense. That means I never went to school. That's why my English is so bad. But anyway, I had to go to school twice a year and to make my examen and all that stuff. But, of course, I didn't lose so much time sitting 5 or 6 hours every morning and then playing violin 2 hours, and then the whole day is finished. Your whole life is finished. So I had just private lessons, 2 or 3 hours a day, and I had a very free time.
But, I mean, what did your parents decide at that
Just
moment?
not playing in public. Not playing more than 2 or 3 very small and nice, more or less family concerts a year. Just to get used to the atmosphere. People are coughing there, you know.
So the temptation would have been for them to have made money, and therefore you would have been exploited, but that didn't happen.
More or less,
in
yes.
fact,
yeah.
it
Or
held
just
you back
to
from
show
that.
which nice daughter they have. you
Yes,
know.
right. Now, you mentioned there also the need for a good instrument.
Yes.
What kind of violin did you have?
I had a Mittenwald. That's a very good school in Germany of violin making, of course, a quarter violin. It was a very good one, and I still have it, just for memory.
Let's take another choice of record. What's your second choice?
My second choice, that's a little bit a long story. To go on with my life, I played this competition at the age of 10 and nothing else. And with 13, I played the first very important concert in Luzern Festival, and Karajan heard about that. And he invited me to play for him. I went to Berlin, and of course, absolutely sure that he would not accept me. That's a clear thing. I played the Chaconne, Bach, for him. After that, 2 movements of Mozart Concerto. And after this, he went down and he told me, I'm very happy to play with you next year. That was 77 in Salzburg, Mozart Concerto. Of course, I was completely stoned and shocked and, everything you can imagine. I couldn't believe that. The next recording I want to choose is a recording of Rostropovich. That's connected with Karajan because on Karajan's 70th birthday, there was a big TV show in Paris. And in this TV show, there were all his friends, Alexis Weissenberg and Rostropovich and Miguel Lafrini. That was the first time I heard Rostropovich live playing.
So what have you chosen?
That's Rostropovich Haydn Cello Concerto, C major.
How important is the relationship that you've had these many years now with Herbert von Karajan?
Of course, he is the musician with the most importance in my life. Because after this concert in Salzburg, everything was open for me. Everybody was coming to me, and I just had to say no. Not more than 7 concerts. Of course, my father said that, and my teacher. Not more than 7 or 8 concerts, and I slowly developed my repertoire. But to have played with Karajan is, just like a mark. Yeah. I mean, everybody knows that you have a certain level. So it's not necessary to lose your time and your strength playing with bad orchestras and, being disappointed and maybe losing love also of music a little bit.
Because when you read about him, the thing that comes across is a lot of people are frightened of him. He's a very authoritarian figure.
He knows what he wants, that's for sure. And he knows how to get it out of the people. That's the great thing. But I don't think he's authoritarian because the moment, for example, he's making recording or rehearsal with orchestra and he tries to explain something and it's not working second or third time, he immediately stops and he's going to another passage because then you're just getting so tense that it makes no sense. He's a very good psychologue also.
Very good?
Psychologue. Not
psychoanalyst.
Yeah. Psychoanalytiker. Psychologist, yes.
Yes.
And he gives you a lot of strength, and of course, if you reach a certain point together with him, you have all liberty you can imagine, because then he's following you everywhere. There's nobody who is really following you like he does, and preparing. your entrance.
It's obviously for you a great teaching experience, a great
Yes.
learning experience
Yeah.
when you play with him.
Yes, it's always a shock for me to play with him, because even works he conducts million times in his life, like Tchaikovsky, Pathetic, I heard 100 times together with him, also in rehearsals. He always, sees it from a different point of view. And that's what I very much admire about him. He's always crazy about perfection, about reaching something else. He's never stopped.
What about the reverse side then? You've talked about your perfect conductor, the man you adore working with. Have you ever worked with a conductor that you've disliked, that you've fought because of an artistic interpretation?
The problem is the moment a musician tries to push himself in the light and completely forgets the composition, there is trouble coming. And I had once a not very nice situation with the conductor. We tried in free rehearsal to come together. I tried to come together with him and together with Sibelius writing concerto. But he really wanted, to break everything. And so I couldn't take responsibility for the public, for the orchestra, and for Sibelius. And I cancelled the concert. But thank God it's the first and I'm sure, the last experience.
What's your next choice of record?
My next choice is, again, Rostropovich. And it's Romeo and Juliet of Prokofiev, because I have a special affinity now to Prokofiev. Rostropovich lived together with Prokofiev a long time, and I studied with him together the violin concerto of Prokofiev, a lot of Russian literature, not only violin concerto, also opera. And he gave me completely different and new information, because I think he's the only one in the West who can tell you really what Russian musicians want, composers. And that's the Funerei of the ballet suite Romeo and Juliet.
And Sophie, I know we were talking about the choice of records you were having for this programme.
Yes.
You particularly wanted something by Laurence Olivier.
Yes.
Why is that?
Of course, I wrote Shakespeare some years before, and I still try to, come deep in it. But I always had the feeling that music is closer to my heart than poesy. But it's not true. After I heard Laurence Olivier speaking Shakespeare, I really have a completely different and much closer
Understanding.
understanding to it, yes.
What is it particularly about Olivier that you admire?
The phrasing. It's like in music, the phrasing of his speaking. That's what really opens a new world for me. And if I read it, it's completely different. I'm sure if Sir Laurence Olivier is reading a recipe for soup, it's like music.
So what have you chosen then? Which particular part of
That's
the
to be
repertoire?
or not to be in this case.
With music, of course, by William
Willie
Walton.
Walton, yes, exactly.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them.
Anne-Sophie, there you were sort of going all swoony when you heard Laurence Olivier's voice there. Has that affected you, does it?
Yes, it's really music. I mean, his voice, his phrasing, and everything is so clear.
Well, that, of course, was the perfect present for you on a special day, because today is, in fact, your birthday, isn't it?
Exactly.
Today you've reached the ripe old age of 23.
Yeah.
Many congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I suppose, in fact, there's a sense in which, I mean, you're renowned now as one of the world's great violinists, that a lot of people look at you and think you've reached the peak of your career. Is that how you look at it?
No, not at all. What's the peak of the career? Of course, if you play with Karajan and other great conductors and very good orchestras, you have big possibilities to develop yourself, but the peak of your development is never reached, because every concert you play, and there is, of course, a limited number of compositions you can play, so you always play 5 or 6 times a year, Beethoven or Brahms or Tchaikovsky. Every concert is only, a step to reach your ideal. And the moment you reach something, your horizon is much bigger, immediately develops.
I'm interested in how you add something new to your repertoire then. I mean, supposing now you've decided to bring a new piece of music into your repertoire. How do you set about preparing that?
That takes about 1 year from the first look at the score. First, I sit on the piano with the orchestra score and I play a little bit for myself to have an idea what's happening around. And after that, I make fingering without the violin. Then I practice to get it more or less clean. And I put it aside. Just continue playing my concerts all year. But the moment, I play something or prepare at work I already know for 8 or 10 years,
Yes.
I always find something new. And that also develops the work I'm not doing in the moment. I mean, it's always in my head moving. And it pretty often happens that I wake up or I just sit somewhere and I'm memorizing and I have a good idea about fingering, about the work I'm not playing for 2 or 3 months. I think the most important side on preparing something is thinking about it. Just always have a mental contact.
And how do you mentally prepare for a concert? Now, you've learnt your piece. You're about now to play it to the audience. You're about to go out there and do it.
Most important thing is that you have a strong imagination. Because what you want to do and what you do, after all, and what the public feels, that's at 3 different steps. So your feeling and your pressure and your force you make is 100 times stronger than what the public effectively, gets from you. The most important thing is your imagination. It's like hypnotic. You must come on stage and from the first moment on really eat the public.
Dominate.
Just like a lion, yes.
How soon do you know when you got on stage that you've got that audience where you want it?
Immediately.
Really?
Yes, immediately.
Another thing that interests me is that somebody like you, the performance is at the very highest intellectual and spiritual level, if you like, where you're on stage doing that. I mean, is it in any sense, because of that, a kind of mystical experience to you?
No, I don't think so. No. You have perfect control about everything you make, even about your bad moments. No, because at the beginning of the movement, you already know how it has to end. You already have, of course, a certain idea, but you always have to build it you. The most power-taking thing on a concert is your mental work. Because if you lose one phrase, the whole movement is gone already.
Well, then let's take it. You've prepared, you've gone on stage, you've won the audience,
Yes.
you've finished, you
Yes.
come off. What happens then? I mean, do you replay the entire concert?
Yes,
You do?
yes, that's absolutely horrible, whole night, And of course, I suffer very much about moments I was not in very good shape. But that's life. I mean, and next evening I try to make it better and better and better and better. And I'm really my greatest concurrent myself.
Let's have another choice of music, Anne-Sophie.
Yes, the other choice is Jean Sibelius, and I think that's a good contradiction to Shakespeare, because Jean Sibelius once said that his music is not at all based on words.
On literature.
Exactly, not at all. And I have chosen Sibelius' Violin Concerto with Ginette Neveu, because for me she is still one of the greatest violinists, and she died very, very early, at a very young age, in an airplane.
Is this the violin concerto that you had the argument with
Exactly,
the conductor about?
yes.
Then we'll be able to hear what in fact the argument was about.
Yeah, first movement.
Anne-Sophie, you only play about 70 or 80 concerts
Yes.
a year, which by normal standards is far from excessive. I mean, other...
Yes, thank God. Yeah, it's
Why
unnecessary.
why do you say thank God?
I think it's unnecessary just to push yourself around and play too many concerts and not thinking that you really need time to get back strength. I want to play every concert with everything I have, not just like that.
So how do you get back strength? How do you relax? How do you pace your year, so to speak?
In January, I have 4 weeks holidays, and in July. And usually I practice in January just to make new repertoire. For example, now string trio, I play Beethoven string trios, which is completely new area in my life. And that's a company with Rostropovich and Jurana, which was my dream, from the beginning of my life on. And that takes a lot of time to study, also to study together. And in July, I just relax in France and I sleep like a dead person, and swimming and reading, that's all. And I'm not traveling, not sitting in a hotel, just not moving.
You don't play the violin at all?
Oh, no. 4 weeks, nothing.
Well, what about when you do travel? I mean, you travel all over the world. You travel to Japan, to America. I'm interested in the kind of reception you get. Does it differ from country to country? I mean, what's it like in Japan, for instance? How are you treated there?
No, in Japan they are especially hysteric about classical music. And they have a very large fan club there. It's really sweet, they bring you big flowers with the Mutter Society and that stuff. And it's a little bit like a pop star. After the concert, they want to touch your legs. I don't know, not my legs, but my dress. And you sit in the car and you just make like Queen, hi. In Russia, I think
the Queen doesn't say hi. She just waves.
But in Russia, there you have, without any doubt, the deepest listeners. And you have a reception which you could cry as artists after that, because they listen. They really take it directly to the art. It's not like amusement, like in other countries, you just go to concert to show your dress, or just go to concert instead of eating, That really is like blood, really part of life there in Russia, music. And so I'm in love with Russia.
Let's have another choice of music.
The next one, that's Eroica with Herbert von Karajan. It was very difficult to choose only 8 recordings and to choose only one of Meister von Karajan. But I especially love his new recordings of all Beethoven symphonies, and I've chosen the Eroica first movement.
Our castaway this week is the violinist Anne-Sophie Mutter. You mentioned, Anne-Sophie, this reception that you had in Japan, where you said you were like a pop star. In a sense, of course you are. I mean, you're at the top of your profession. A lot of people admire you inordinately. Do you get proposals of marriage?
Yes.
Are they serious proposals?
I don't know. I never controlled, thank God.
Do you reply to them?
It's very difficult to reply to such serious thing. More or less, I find a way to make a nice answer.
Another thing interests me too, someone who's as involved as you are with a career, with a very difficult and testing career.
It's not career, it's just music. You're full of it. You can't stop it, even in
what even makes the question more pertinent then. What would the person that you share your life with have similarly to be somebody immersed in music?
Not like me, of course. I don't know.
I was thinking about Elton John. Because I know that you.
I admire him very much as a
You
musician.
do?
That's no question. And
Yes.
I was in several of his concerts, of course.
Were you?
Yes,
And you
in
enjoyed-
Paris. Yes, I enjoyed very much. Yeah.
What is your taste in popular music? I mean, apart from Elton John.
But from him, that's the early Rolling Stones and the Beatles, and some jazz. Oscar Peterson. There also is a very good Russian one. I forgot his name. Very young one.
And Anne-Sophie, what kind of music don't you like? I mean, is there any kind of particular music that you really cannot stand?
Yes, Schlager. I don't know in English. This, really absolute stupid kind of entertainment music, just ga ga ga, I love you, ga ga ga, I love you not, something like that. That's horrible. But it always depends in which mood I am. Yeah. So I not always listen to Elton John or to Bach. It just depends how I feel.
Let's have another choice of music.
Yes, the next recording, that's dedicated to Sir Peter Pears. I'm very, very sad that he disappeared so quickly out of my life. I met him last year in Aldborough, and this Malting school, Malting school invited me to play a gala concert for him in November 13th. And I should like to have his next recording, the War Requiem by Benjamin Britten, the Agnus Dei, sung by Peter Pears.
Faces, there is pride that they were flesh marked by the beast, by whom the gentle Christ still
Anne-Sophie, what about the future? What plans do you have for the immediate future? Let's talk about that first.
Yes, for the immediate future, I will make a recording with Meister von Karajanov Tchaikovsky Wine Concerto and, of course, play concerts in Salzburg and Lucerne. But I think what's also very interesting is that I will develop my chamber music. That means I will develop my program in Beethoven String Trio. And I'm going to record the Glazunov and Prokofiev conducted by Rostropovich. And I want to develop my very modern side, that means Lutoslavsky and Maury and Dutilleux.
And what about the long term? I mean, did you ever think sort of 20 years ahead, say?
No, not that long, but 4 or 5 years we are planning ahead, yes, because I only want to play 80 concerts, so I have to put in other years what I can't do this year.
What about heroes? What about people? You've talked about Bancari. I know quite obviously has been an influence and a hero.
Yeah.
What other heroes do you have? Say, not particularly in the world of classical music.
Yeah.
Who are the other people you look at and admire, the world around you?
Of course, I'm especially connected to music. That's why another one is Rostropovich, also a musician. There's Yehudi Menuhin, which is one of 2 or 3 violinists which really, made an explosion for violin development. Mm-hmm. And not to speak about his human qualities. And for sure there is Solzhenitsyn. And I had big problems to decide which kind of book I wanted to take to the island. Solzhenitsyn's Archipel Gulag or Robinson Crusoe, because Robinson Crusoe is very practical, if you read every day what to do. But I deeply admire Solzhenitsyn for his courage, to risk his position, his life, and write about this horrible island, this situation in Soviet Union with this system.
Final choice of music, what shall it be?
Final choice, that of course will be something of Bach. That will be Dino Lipatti, who died at the age of 33 at a horrible illness that was leukemia. And he set standards which, still are unreachable. And he was very deeply religious. And for me, Bach, together with Dino Lipatti, that's whole life.
Anne-Sophie, now you're on the desert island. You finally arrived there.
Yes.
Would you enjoy it, do you think, on the desert island? Do you like solitude? Do you like being by yourself?
Yes, but I don't know how it looks, tell me. Are there a lot of green things on the island?
There are a
What
few
do you say?
palm trees,
Yeah?
I think, yes.
Okay.
Would you try to escape, do you think?
I think yes.
Are you practical in the sense that you could look after yourself? I mean, could you...
You know, the problem is I think I couldn't kill the animal. And so, the big problem, the lion would eat me.
Fish?
And I
You could kill a
needn't-
fish, could you?
That depends how hungry I am. I never tried, you know. I never was that hungry.
Now, you've got to imagine that you've got your 8 records there, and one day there's some awful natural disaster. 7 are swept away to sea, and you're left
It's
with
English
one.
humor.
Yes, the
And I can
perversing-
choose which one.
Perverse English
I left-
humour, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Which one would it be?
Maybe I would stay with Romeo and Juliet, because there is whole life in it. It's birth, love, and death. And it's nice on the island to think about Romeo and Juliet.
Now, I know that your favourite author is Solzhenitsyn. I assume that you take one of his books then to your desert island.
To be honest, I think it's a little bit too cruel to take the Archipel Gulag with me. So for practical reasons, I will take the Robinson Crusoe.
Because you might find the Solzhenitsyn too depressing, you think?
Yes, and in Robinson Crusoe, you just, read what you have to do to, to escape.
The manual
Make
to
your
get off the
life
desert.
nice
Of course.
and easy.
Right, and finally then, the one luxury object that you're allowed.
And it's my Stradivari, for sure.
Stradivarius?
Yes, with a bow.
What kind of Stradivarius is it, by the way?
That's a 1710 called Lord Dunraven, and it's coming from England, from London.
And would you play every day?
I don't know. I don't think so. It depends on the sunshine or raining,
Anne-Sophie Mutter, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
You've been listening to a podcast from the Desert Island Discs archive. For more podcasts, please visit bbc.co.uk/radio4.